Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Hello, Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, CHULLIN Daf Mem Aleph. We begin 4 lines off the top of the Amud, and this relates back to yesterday's Machlekes. According to Rav Huna, one can affect his friend's object. So even a non-owner can prohibit something, which means, let's say there was an item and a non-owner came over to it and used it for avodah zarah. If he did a ma'aseh, he modified it to some extent, it will make it asur. According to Rav Nachman, Rav Amram, and Rav Yitzchak, no. They hold a non-owner can have no effect. Tashmai comes a raya from our Mishnah. Beis oichzen besaken. You have 2 fellows, Reuben and Shimon, clutching the same knife, one on either side, and will be joining forces to do a shechita, v'sheichten. Now, the act was the same, but the intent was very different. Echad l'shem echad mikol elu. Reuben was having in mind that the shechita is intended as a form of worship to one of those idols, right? Ve'echad l'shem davar kasher. Shimon, on the other hand, is thinking proper thoughts, just to do a kosher shechita, nothing else in mind. So one fellow was okay, one fellow diverted. Shechita psula, the shechita is a failed shechita because of Reuben's contribution. No. And we assume, Rashi says, we assume that this halacha applies even if the animal actually was owned by Shimon only. Still, Reuben and his intentions can act to the detriment of Shimon's animal. So we see Adam Oyseir, Davar Shein Shloi, a non-owner can have a negative impact on something which is not even his. Answer is Hachab Ma'askin was speaking the Islay Shutfas Begava. Actually, the animal was jointly owned by both people. There was a partnership. So of course he can have impact. Tashmai comes another right. Hamatame. A non-owner goes and is matame his friend's item. Takes a lizard, a dead sherets, and puts it into contact with Shimon's material. Or he mixes some truma into Shimon's CHULLIN, which makes it forbidden to an ordinary person. It has to be sold to a kohen at a cheaper rate. Or he takes Shimon's wine and pours it up with the zara. In all these cases, he damaged, he inflicted harm, monetary harm. Is he responsible? B'shogeg pater was done inadvertently. He's pater. He didn't realize that it was truma. He didn't realize, right? B'meized chayiv. He did it purposely. It's chayiv. And Rashi explains the whole background that's based on a Gemara Bava Kama. There are no excuses when it comes to personal activities. You're chayiv regardless. But here it's different. He says it's not really visible damage. It's invisible, more on the spiritual realm of things. It's called hezek she'eino nikar, and in that case, you're not really chayiv min haTorah. It's only midrabanan. There's a knas. We penalize this fellow for doing it, and only if he did it purposely. In any case, what do we see from here? That you could impact someone else's item. You took someone else's wine, it doesn't belong to you, and you did nisuch, it becomes asur. Well, says the Gemara, who says he's not an owner? Hachanami. Here too, we're speaking the Islay Shutfas Begava. The perpetrator was a shutav, was a partner in this material, in which case he's deemed an owner. But really, Ketanoi, we find that this question is given to Machlekes Tanoi, whether a non-owner can impact. A Yisrael had wine. A guy came over and did nisuch on that wine. But it was shaloi b'fnei avodas kechavim, not in the presence of an idol. He did it for the sake of nisuch to avodah zarah, but the avodah zarah was not actually right here. What happens to this wine? Asrei, according to Tanna Kama, Asrei, he has now forbade the wine, it becomes asr. So we learn 2 things. First of all, even though it wasn't done in front of the Avodah Zarah, it's still called nisuch, which makes the wine asur. Number two, it can even be done by a non-owner, like in this case. The guy did the nisuch on the Yiddish wine, it becomes asur. That is the Tanna Kamma's sheet. Rabbi Yehuda ben Neseira, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, they disagree. Matirin, they permit the wine. Matirin Oisei, for two reasons. For two separate reasons. Echad, first of all, this is not the standard nisuch procedure. Typically, it's done in front of the idol. Echad, first of all, she'ein menaschen yain ela b'fnei avodas chacham. They only do nisuch in front of the Avodah Zarah, which in this case didn't happen. Number two, ve'echad, because the Jewish wine owner can tell the guy, it's none of your business. You can't make my wine asur. Loikol hey menach. It's not within your ability shete'esur yeni to forbid my wine lo'insi against my will. So we seem to have a machlekes tanaim in this regard. Tanna Kamma says even a non-owner can forbid. According to the second shita, a non-owner has no say in the matter. So Rav Huna's statement, Rav Huna's halacha learned yesterday that a non-owner can impact is really subject to machlekes tanaim. He's going like the Tanna Kamma, but not like the other shitas. Now, Rav Nachman, etc., who disagrees, they held that ein adam oiser davar she'ein shlo, a non-owner cannot impact, cannot have any say in the matter. How are they going to learn this brisa? Says the Gemara, actually, according to them, it can still be reconciled according to all opinions. Meaning their position can be in line with the Tanna Kamma as well. Although they had told us that a non-owner has no impact, and Tanna Kamma seems to say yes. Rav Nachman, Rav Amram, Rav Yitzchak Amri, they'll explain, Afilu l'man da'amar, Adam Oiser Davar she'ein shelo. Even according to Tanna Kamma, who seems to hold that a non-owner can be detrimental, that's only by a goy, Hani milikusi. A guy who certainly is serious about his nisuch hayayin, he's doing Avodah Zarah, of course it makes it asur. Al Yisrael. But in our story, we're talking about a Yid doing this act. He's not serious. He's just pranking around. He's trying to distress the owner. He's not really trying to do idol worship. So if he throws the perpetrator, we don't have to take him seriously. And in fact, the item is not asur. Tashma. But it comes a kasha on that. You're telling me a Yisrael is not to be taken seriously in this regard? We have the Mishnah, Beis Oichten, Besaken, Veshoichten. We have the two Shoichten converging together. One had Avodah Zarah wine, one did not. And the question is, it's Israel. He's just pranking. We're speaking about a renegade Jew who's committed, unfortunately, to this type of a lifestyle. So in this case, he means business. Tashmai comes another right, Hamatame, right? Hamadameya, Hamanasich, our story. B'shogeg is part of Mezid Chayev, and the question again is, if it's Israel, let's assume he's just joking around. Once again, Nami here too, B'Yisrael Mum, we're speaking about a Jew who's off the track. Amalei Rav Acha b'Rav Ravashi. Okay, in line with this thinking that only a Yisrael Mum is to be taken seriously in this regard. What about a regular, ordinary Yisrael who's not known to have deviated? A regular Yisrael, Cheskas Kashrus, and he's about to shecht his friend's animal, Avodah Zarah. And they warned him, what are you doing? If you're going to do it, you're going to be liable to severe punishment, Misa. And he says, I don't care. He's availing himself to that Misa. He's disregarding the warning. What status does this perpetrator have? Is he like a regular Yisrael? We assume it's Urika Mechav and is trying to play a prank. Or do we say, look, this guy's obviously not very committed to the Torah way of life. He's totally disregarding, discounting what we have to say to him. So perhaps that's indicative of his status, of his level. of deviation, and we treat him like Yisrael Mumar. And his shchita l'avodah zarah is considered as such and makes it asur. Which way? Amalei Rav Achbed Rav Rashi Hisraboy. They warned him. V'kibel olav asrani accepted the warning. He disregarded it. What's his status? Amalei says, you're right. Hitter atzman l'nisukam. You're talking about a fellow who was availing himself to a death penalty. I mean, he's totally disregarding the whole seriousness of the matter. Ein lecha mumar gadol mazeh. You don't have a greater mumar than that. And of course, it's considered an act of avodah zarah and makes it asur. Okay, so in summation, can a non-owner impact an item? For instance, by doing shechita on his neighbor's cow for avodah zarah, by pouring his wine. According to Rav Huna, the answer is yes. According to the other shitas, depends. By Yagah, yes, because he means it seriously, at least according to one shita in the Brisa. But by Yisrael, we assume he's just playing a prank, unless he's Yisrael Mumar. Continues the Mishnah. Okay, as a regular animal, he's about to do shechita. Says the Mishnah, he should be careful not to do it in a manner where it would appear to the observer like he's worshipping some spirits, some, angels, some forces, and he's doing avodah zarah. So it should be done in a manner which is not reminiscent of that type of behavior. One should not do shechita into the sea, into the river. Rashi says, because it would appear like he's being sheichet to the sar, to the minister, to the force, to the malach that's managing the seas. Next, nor into a kli, into a receptacle. Rashi says here, the concern is that it might appear like he's being makabel the dam for avodah zarah. He's collecting the blood for purpose of worshipping an idol. So just do shechita on the plain ground to avoid any of these appearances. But he could do shechita into the little pit filled with water, where the blood just gets mixed into the water, gets diluted, and it's no longer fit for worshipping idols, and it's not really a true natural body of water like a sea, where there's a concern about appearing like he's addressing the minister of the. That's okay. Likewise, if you're traveling on a boat. So to keep the aesthetics on the boat, he wants to get the blood to stream out into the sea, but you can't. You can't do shechita onto the sea. So what do? Al gabi kelim. Do the shechita on some sort of kli, which will now drain, right? The water will sort of drain through the kli into the sea, and that's okay because it wasn't directly into the sea. Continues the Mishnah. In shechten leguma kol ikar. One should not do shechita into a pit at all. But if he's doing shechita in his house, there's the cleanliness factor. So you're allowed to make a guma pit and have the blood trickle into the pit. Now this seems to contradict what we just said a minute ago, that you shouldn't do shechita. We'll get to that in the Gemara. If you're out in the street where cleanliness wasn't really a high priority, you shouldn't even do this. You shouldn't even do shechita next to a pit. Shaloi, why? Shaloi, we turn to my base. Yichaka, esatztukim, or esaminim. Different words used to describe the same people. Deviators, the non-believers, right? You should not be mechaka. Rashi says yichaka comes from choik, custom, a practice, doctrine. You shouldn't reinforce their position. Because apparently they used to do this. They used to shecht into pits for whatever reason, perhaps reminiscent to something related to avodah zarah or something. So you shouldn't do anything which emulates their customs. Okay, continues the Gemara. Ein shechten leil teich yamim. So the Mishnah began. Shechita into the yam, into the naharos, that's not acceptable. But into an ugel shal mayim, that's okay. What's the difference? It's all the same thing. It's a body of water. What's wrong with shechita into the sea? The amri, because the observer might consider it like an act of worship. The sorah, the yam kashachet, it looks like he's shechting to the sar of the yam, and he's worshipping the malach and the spirits. Well, techuga shal mayim nami. Likewise, if he's shechting into the pit filled with water, amri, people can say lebavua. Look, his reflection is being reflected off the water, and perhaps he's shechting to that reflection, to that spirit, to that spiritual force. Kashachet. Amarava Bachurim Shon, we're talking about dirty water, muddied water. In which case there's no visible reflection, there's no issue. Okay, the Mishnah continues. Ein sheich l'guma. One should not shecht into a pit, an empty pit. But then it says you could. You're at home, you want to keep the place clean, you can make a pit, a shecht. All right. Isn't that self-contradictory? V'amris, you just told me, Ein shecht l'guma klal, you shouldn't shecht into a pit at all. Amar Abaye. We're talking about different locations. Reisha b'guma shebashuk. When the Mishnah says you can't, that's talking out in the street, but there is no cleanliness, factor at play. Versus the one in your house, where it's clear that you're just doing it to keep the house clean, without any other intention, nefarious intentions. Amalei Rava, how could you say the Reisha is talking about the street? Because the Mishnah concludes with the street, with a reference to the shuk. Evidently, the discussion up until that point was not referring to the street. Amalei Rava. Well, Tani Sefi, take a look at the conclusion of the Mishnah, which makes a reference to the street. Of a shuk, layasakin, you shouldn't do it in the street because of its stukim machlal the Reisha. Apparently, the initial halacha in the Mishnah, lav b'shuk askin, is not relating to the street. Elam Rava. Let me explain to you what's going on in the Mishnah. Hachikamar. Mishnah means like this. Ein shechten l'guma kol ikar. Period. One should never shecht into a pit, to have the blood directly flow into the pit. Now, suppose he's doing shchita in his backyard, front yard. Wants to keep it clean. L'nakar means to cleanse it, to clean it. How do you avoid getting it sullied? Right? You can't have the blood directly shoot into the pit. So what do? You make a little like a ditch, a furrow, right next to a pre-existing pit. And instead of shechting right on the pit, you shecht on the furrow, which will drain the blood into the pit. So you're not actually shechting into the pit, so that's okay. You shecht on the side. And the dam will now flow and trickle into the pit. So since he's in his house, where we have this cleanliness consideration, plus he's doing it on the side, so it's clear that he's just draining it, he's not doing this shchita into the pit, practice. But that's only in the home. Ubishuk, but out in the street where this factor is not really a priority, cleanliness was not, you shouldn't do it this way either. It shouldn't appear like he's reinforcing and supporting the tzedukim's practice. In fact, we have a brayso, Tanya comes say the Rav, in line with Rav's opinion. He's traveling by boat. There's no place to shech properly without sullying the boat. He extends his hand beyond the railing. And the shchita on the water. So he arranges that the blood will trickle alongside the walls of the sfina, meaning not directly into the sea, and then it will drain into the sea in a manner which is consistent with his effort to keep his boat clean. Now, when he's on dry land, once again, he should not be shechting into a pit. However, but if he's trying to keep his place clean, what do? You dig a little ditch beside the pit, and you shecht on that ditch. It allows the blood to flow and to descend into the pit. But out in the street, where this cleanliness factor, aesthetics is not really a high priority, so then he shouldn't even do it this way. Because the pasuk warns against emulating, following the ways of the goyim. And if he actually did so, that raises a red flag about his religious commitments. You have to check after him, examine, and do some research to investigate whether, in fact, he is conforming with the Torah way of life. Otherwise, you can't eat his meat, you can't eat his wine. Okay, so in a nutshell, when practicing shchita, it should be done in a manner which is consistent with the Torah way of life, without arousing any question marks, any doubts in terms of idol worship and Continues the Mishnah. Here we have a fellow doing a regular shechita, proper shechita, on a proper animal, not carbon, CHULLIN, right? In the proper way. But as he's doing the shechita, he announces, I'm doing this as an oila. Hashech l'shem oila. He's pretending that's an oila. L'shem zvachim. Some change it to l'shem shlamim. He's doing a shechita in his backyard, not in the Beis HaMikdash. He's claiming it to be a shlamim, l'shem asham tali. He's claiming it to be an asham tali, which is a carbon that one will bring if he encounters a questionable situation where he ate something which may have been chaylev, right? So there's a chiyuv to bring an asham tali, l'shem pesach, l'shem toida. He claims it to be a carbon pesach, a carbon toida. Shechita is a psula. It disqualifies a shechita. Now you'll ask why. I mean, actually, it's not an asham. It's not, right? So Rashi says it's midrabanan because it appears as such. The uneducated observer, following this fellow's activities, might take him seriously. He claimed that it's an asham. Oh, it must be an asham. So you can do shechita outside the Beis HaMikdash and still eat the basar. So in order to avoid that sort of misconception, Chacham say, you know what? If you pretended to be a shlamim, you've now disqualified the shechita and you can't eat it. But that only applies when, in fact, there is some basis for his claim. There's some room for this claim, which applies in these cases, because technically you could donate an oila anytime. You could donate a shlamim anytime. So for the observer watching, he takes him seriously. Why not? He assumes it's really an oila, really a shlamim, which was shechted out of the Beis HaMikdash, and it's possible. However, we're going to see in a minute, the flip side of this equation is if he pretended it to be something which he cannot donate, like, for instance, a chatas. A person can't wake up in the morning and just donate a chatas. He has to have sin first to bring a chatas, right? So if he claims that this animal is a chatas, and it's not, everybody knows he didn't sin. Rashi says a sinner, even b'shegeg, lets it be known. He wants to get a kapara, wants to get atonement, he wants to experience that shame and get proper kapara. So we all know he didn't do anything wrong. So he's just pranking around. Nobody takes him seriously, so there's no room for concern, there's no room for misunderstanding, and therefore there's no issue with the shechita. Okay, so that's basically the equation. If we're talking about carbonates which have potential, which can potentially be true, then it disqualifies the shechita, but otherwise, he's just blowing air and it's a non-issue. Reb Shimon Machshir. Now Shimon takes issue with the whole Gzeira. He says even if there's confusion and there's he says it's okay. Rashi says Lo yichayish lemaris ayin. We're not concerned about people observing, to this extent to make it possible. Okay, Shnaim Eichen Besaken. Once again, we have the joint shechita. Two people doing shechita together. One has a mind, an oila, a shlamim. The other fellow has no clue about his partner's, mindset. He's just thinking regular shechita, regular meat. Shechita is a psula because of the Reuven who deviated. Now we have the flip side of that equation, a list of carbonates which cannot be so. Hashayich l'shem chatas. He's taking a regular animal in his backyard, doing shechita as though it's a chatas. L'shem asham. Vadai, regular asham. L'shem b'chor, as though it's a firstborn animal, which it isn't. L'shem maser, as though it's the 10th maser, behema animal, which we know it's not. He's not doing maser behema. We see Shem Tamura, he pretends that it's a Tamura, which is like an exchange of a carbon. And we know he didn't do that. In this case, it's okay because it's a non-issue. We disregard his claim. Zeh in line with the following formula. If he's claiming it to be something which you could donate, now there's a personal donation, davar is an object being donated, something which you can do any time, any day. So for all we know, it is really so. Perhaps this animal is really a shlam. Hashach lishmai asur. So if he shechts it for that sake, so it's asur, like we explained, because it appears to be so. But if it's something which is non-starter, it's something which you can't obligate yourself to do, like a chatas. So hashach lishmai kosher. If you declare this goat to be a chatas, it's a non-factor, we disregard it, and it's a proper shechita. Hashach l'shem oila, says the Gemara, or a shlamim, or an asham tali. These items, these carbonates can potentially be true. Ask the Gemara, really? Asham tali bar nidar v'nidavu? Since when can you just donate an asham tali on a random Tuesday morning? So unless you actually experience that doubtful, experience where you ate something, and which we know he didn't, how could you just donate an Asham Tali? Amar Rabbi Yechanan, yeah, you could. We are going according to the Shita that a person could donate an Asham Tali anytime, any day, because there's always some sort of, some sort of possibility, some sort of option that he may have encountered a problematic, experience, and a person is able to donate an Asham Tali even without firm basis or firm grounds for obligation. Hamani, this mission is in line with the Shita of Rabbi Elazar here. Rabbi Elazar holds, the Amar misnad of Adam Asham Tali b'chol yayim. Okay, so we're going like Shita of Rabbi Elazar here, who says that one can donate an Asham Tali every day. Just in case, right? So in that case, it can very well be true. It can be that this carbon was an Asham Tali. And that's why we take him seriously. Ask the Gemara, what about the Karban Pesach? I mean, it's Tu B'Shvat today. It's not Erev Pesach. How could this be a Karban Pesach? Pesach. Pesach. Bar Nidav V'Nidavu? Bar Nidav V'Nidaru? Can one donate a Karban Pesach randomly in the middle of the year? Zimna Kvila, it has a set time. Why should we take him seriously? Amar Rabbi Yoshia. Well, yeah, I mean, you bring the Karban Pesach, Erev Pesach, but you could technically designate it all year round. And if you shecht it at any time other than Erev Pesach, the halacha is a default to a shlamim. That's the halacha. We learned this many times, right? Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Shani Pesach. Pesach is different to for Shasai in terms of its designation. Kol Hashana Kula. You could do it any time throughout the year. And if you shechted it any time, it becomes a shlamim. So again, it has basis. It has, potential even throughout the year. So we have to take him seriously. This is only true if the goat that he's shechting is unblemished. Then you can, speculate perhaps it's really a carbon, and you run into the whole issue. But if it's blemished, everybody knows it's not fit for a carbon. Made the idea. Rabbi Yechon says no, even blemished. Maybe it's covered up with some, dirt. Afilu bali mumin nami. Zimnan de rami lemidi. Amuma. Could happen that there's some material covering the mum. But the idea it's not observable, so it makes no difference. Even a balmum would carry the same concern. However, on the flip side, we have karbanis which have no basis in reality. You can't just donate a chatas randomly. So in that case, we disregard his claim, and the shechita is okay. Because there's no room for confusion. It's only true. It's only if the person is in fact not known, right? He's really not chayv chatas. So he's just making things up, and we disregard it. But in fact, if he's chayv chatas, then maybe what he's saying is really illegitimate. I said perhaps he's shechting this goat for his chatas. And that triggers the whole concern. But even so, says the Gemara, you can't just say l'shem chatas. It has to be l'shem chatasi to really designate it as his personal chatas. Otherwise, it's Well, like Amar l'shem chatasi, he didn't say chatasi. This is my Amar l'shem chatasi. Yeah, well, speaking that he did say it like that, and still, the Mishnah says that if he hadn't really sinned, it's a non-starter and doesn't really matter. But if he did sin, then we have to reckon with it. L'shem t'mura. Okay, he claims that this goat here is a t'mura. We disregard that. Amar Balazar like shanu. That's only true if he doesn't have a carbon at home, which he's using as a source material for this t'mura. So then it's a non-entity. If he has a carbon at home, that presents a concern. Because we can speculate. Amuri is the lashon of t'mura. He switched. Amuri Amir Bey. He switched it with that one, meaning he really made t'mura. And as Rashi brings, even if the source material, the original carbon, is not here in front of the new animal, you can still make t'mura. You can say, look, this goat is a t'mura, an exchange, or an extension, of a carbon that I have at home. So in this case, there is a very real concern that in fact, what he's saying is real. Amuri Amr. But he didn't stipulate that this is going to be a t'mura of my carbon. He didn't say it like that. Maravo, we're talking they did say it like that. He did say it like that. So that will present a concern. Now the Mishnah concludes with a rule. Usually, that means that we're including more examples, which haven't been said yet. And the Mishnah states it in both ways, right? If it's a reference to something that he could technically donate, then we have to be concerned, but otherwise not. So what examples are being included which haven't yet been mentioned? One example from each side of the equation. Zaklal, what are we including? What is something which can be donated? Lasuya oilas nazar. He's claiming this goat to be the oila of a nazar, as though he experienced nazirus, which obligates him to bring karbanis. We have to take him seriously. Perhaps it is exactly such. Now, what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? What's the added point? The Talmud Bavli, perhaps I would not take him seriously. Why? We know this fellow never committed two nazirus. I mean, you see, his hair is short, and so he's just pranking around. No, aim or another betzina. You can always say maybe he committed privately, quietly, discreetly. And as Rashi says, nazirus is merely 30 days, right? So his hair, 30-day hair growth isn't so discernible. It can still, pass. It can still hide. Okay, v'she'ena nida v'nida. Mission concludes, but something which is not donatable, then he's just pranking around. Lasuya. What are we including here? Even if he claims that this carbon here is the oila that a woman who gives birth has to bring, we disregard it. It's not something you can just donate randomly. It's something that you have to be obligated to bring, and we know he's not, so it's a non-issue. Amar B'Lazar, yeah, it's only true if he has no wife. That can theoretically be chayiv in this carbon. If he's married, perhaps he's dedicating it for her sake. It's her carbon after birth. But like Amar l'shem oilas ishti, he didn't say this is for my wife's oila. Amar Ravo, yeah, that's exactly what he said. But Amar was speaking that he articulated l'shem oilas ishti. Pshita, then it's pretty obvious why he even discusses. Perhaps I could think im isa de yolda. Why does Rabbi Lezer have to say, well, if he has a wife, it's different? I mean, obviously, the answer is like this. Perhaps, even so, we can just disregard it. Why? We turn to the next Amid. Perhaps you can think, if he would have had a baby, there would have been a kiddush. Imisa, the old, if in fact his wife would have given birth, everybody would know about it. Mazel tov. Kol havale would be big news in town. So perhaps we should assume that it's nonsense. Kamashmal, the point of Rabbi Lezer is to say, no, Amor, perhaps we can say, Apuli apple, perhaps she miscarried. So there was no grand celebration, but nevertheless, she's chayv to bring a carbon, because technically, as we learned in Maseches Krisis, even in that situation, the woman is obligated to bring a carbon yoledes, and perhaps that's what happened. So in this case, we have to reckon with his claim. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We began with a non-owner trying to interfere with his neighbor's items. According to Rav Huna, yes, he's oiser davashen shaloi, which turned out to be machlekes tanoim. According to the other shita, is no. There's a shita that by a guy, yes, but not by Yisrael, unless it's Yisrael mumar, where we assume that he's doing avodah zarah for real. Shechita has to be done in a manner consistent with the Torah observance, as opposed to opening up all kinds of speculations of avodah zarah, etc., etc. And we learned about a fellow who did shechita, claiming that it's a carbon. The Rabbanan, the shechita is possible, but that's only provided that there's some potential for his claim to be true, and that confuses the observers who take him seriously. But if it's something like a chatas, an asham, which he can't just randomly donate, we know it's just a false claim, it's just a prank, in which case the carbon is fully kosher. Okay, Hadmul Chashoichet, all the best to you, lots of hatzlacha. Tomorrow we start a brand new chapter in our Masechta, Eila Treifos, discussing the intricacies of the anatomies of the behemoths and the oifos, and what constitutes a kosher animal, and what type of inspections, examinations are needed to ensure as such. All the best to you, and hatzlacha, Rabbi.